What am I doing here, class? Well, you know that old saying, if a law is violated in the middle of the forest and no one hears it or sees it, was the law really violated? I think it goes something like that. I'm building a shed here for, I have a golf car, and it is in the middle of the woods. My house is right over there. The law says that if you build something 144 square feet or larger, you need a building permit. So 9 feet wide by 16 feet, that's 144. So you know what this is? This is 8.5 feet wide by 16 feet. And that way we'll be able to build this without involving the town and anybody known. But so I'm not violating the law, but that is what I'm doing. However, I do want to take you inside to see what I'm working on inside. Stop the music so you can hear me. But what we got going on is the Cockney Rejects. You probably remember them. This is their Greatest Hits Volume 1, which of course was their only album ever put out, their first album. They pretty much knew that was the case. But what I got going here is I've got a record player, and it's recording. I've got a little wire here that's connecting right into my netbook here, and on my netbook I'm recording all my old albums from when I was your age, so I can put them on Google Music or something so I can listen to them anytime I want to. But I got looking at this album right here, also by another one-hit wonder from 1985, And We Dance, Day by Day. You might remember those songs, probably not. All You Zombies, that was one of their hits. They, it says right down here, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication is a violation of applicable laws. Now in 1985, I don't know if there was an applicable law that allowed me to not do what I'm doing here, to record this onto a computer. I could have recorded it onto a cassette. I know the law back then was, if I recorded onto a cassette, I could only listen to one of them at a time. I couldn't have my wife listen to the cassette and me the record, or vice versa. It was for backup archival purposes only, in case, you know, the album melted in the sun or something. So what do we do about laws that aren't really enforceable? It's an interesting question. Why have them at all? This is the back of a house. Don't worry, I don't live here. This is a house in my neighborhood, but I live on a much poorer street than this. So you see that stand there. I want to explain why that's here. You notice that it's a house for sale. In fact, it says sold on it. This house was built 4 years ago, and like any house, big or small, you need to have a certificate of occupancy that allows you to live there. Now, this particular house is in the town of Niskayuna, and every town has their own local laws, local ordinances, local building requirements. One of the building requirements in Niskayuna, and I happen to know it's not true in Guilderland, but in Niskayuna, when you walk out of a house, out of a doorway, you need to have 3 feet minimum of a level surface. You cannot walk out and begin with steps. Ergo, that's why we have this right here. We have a level landing. Now, I know it looks kind of stupid if you see this is 4 years of we see a lot of moss and it's getting deteriorated. But believe it or not, the local building inspector in the town of Niskayuna approved 5,000 square foot, $750,000 mansion with this as a builder. Now, why was it done this way? Ironically, the builder, he knew about the local Niskayuna law, but it turns out in Guilderland they don't have that law, and he builds most of his houses in Guilderland. So he likes the look of this. He likes to have one step down and another step and a patio. But he knew it was against building codes in Niskayuna, but he built it that way anyway. Now that meant we had a $750,000 house in this neighborhood that did not meet the code. It was not an occupiable house. But he knew that for every government regulation, there's a way around that government regulation. The old
if you build a 50-foot fence, we'll build a 51-foot ladder. So what he did is he built this crappy little stairs and placed it here, and the building inspector came in and approved that. He said, okay, fine, knowing full well that when the owner moved in, the owner would obviously move this out. Now the owner's concerned because he's selling his house, and he needs to know that there's a certificate of occupancy available to the next owner. But here's the caveat for all you potential homeowners. Buyer beware. That's an old saying. And what it comes down to is these are going to be thrown into the woods over yonder, and then the people who will buy this house will buy this, and they will never know that their house is not actually up to code.
Oh, ethoxylated mono and diglycerides. Yes, I was wondering if they're in there or not. It turns out they are. Some of these things you can't even pronounce. Typical diet that you might hear about, and this is the beauty of diet. The free market has regulated the diet industry. The free market says what's good or what's bad. Not the government. The government does have their own issues there with it, but their food pyramid, which, by the way, they keep changing. But I'll tell you this. In the free market of ideas, there was an Atkins diet. You may or may not have ever heard of it, but Mr. Atkins, who invented the diet, he died about age 50 of a heart attack. So, maybe not the best idea. I haven't bought these in several years. I bought them just for this video, and I'm going to be forced to eat them. I used to love them in my 20s. Well, I think this is where I got this from. Okay, we got sugar, chocolate chips, soy, lecithin, vanillin, palm oil, bleached flour, high fructose corn syrup, that's a biggie, molasses, water, soybean oil, salt, artificial flavor. I wonder what that is. Baking soda, sodium phosphate, gar gum, carabine gum, calcium sulfate, calcium phosphate, caramel color. Perhaps it's a good idea that I've kind of given those up after all these years. Is that the right theory? I don't know. That's the beauty of the free market of ideas. You can do some research. There are some concerns about the fruit sugars, but diabetics shouldn't choose this as a lifestyle. But nonetheless, it might be right for you. It might not be right for you. It's certainly better than some diets. Here as an example, I have some relatives who are vegans, but this is also vegan. Bag of potato chips and a soda. So veganism isn't necessarily the answer for me, but I do believe in a lot of the principles of healthier eating. If you can't pronounce the words in the food, don't eat it. If your great-grandmother wouldn't recognize it as food, such as Cheetos, don't eat it. Those are some of my theories of it. This, by the way, says it's all natural. And I look on the back, potatoes, vegetable oil, and salt. Yes, it is all natural. So the government has forced producers of food to specify what's in the food. That's a good thing. I'm not opposed to government regulation like that. Should the government be required to do that? Well, it would be nice if the free market did it. In fact, there are some examples of that. For instance, Chipotle's, when you go there, you'll find that if you look at their sign, all their beef, all their meats are organic. They're raised on a farm, and they are not filled with a lot of steroids. So if you're looking to avoid all that steroid-filled meat, but you want to go out to eat something Mexican, Chipotle's might be a good choice for you. By the way, I'm not paid to advertise for them. I'm just pointing out a fact that the free market, they have decided to choose better quality meats, and they're choosing to market or advertise them, so you'll know that. That's what the free market should be doing. You shouldn't really be forced to specify everything that's in your product. However, considering what's in these products, apparently it is not a bad idea to have government regulation of the food industry to make sure people know what they're eating, particularly if you have peanut allergies, gluten allergies, all dairy-free, lactose issues. You might actually need to have your products labeled to make sure you don't make any mistakes. The other advantage, it allows you to look, this particular one, nutrition facts, calories 150, calories from fat 90, of course servings per container 7, reality 2, yesterday and today. But at least I can make informed decisions as a consumer if I know how much, what's in these products. So That's a good thing.